mic. And hello, family. Good to have you here today. So, great show today. As always, I'm excited to be here with you. So, I wanted to take just a little bit of time as we begin the show today, just to take some questions and answers from you. Let's do a little Q&A if you'd like to. We are live for an hour. Great show today. Nate Middleton is here with us from Saved by Skarlet. Excited to have him here with us today. Great guy, great band. If you're not familiar with Saved by Scarlet, we've got some great things to share with you today. So, good show ahead, and lots of stuff going on, folks. As always, sign in. Let me know where you're watching from. Al Cox, our good friend, is here from Elgin, Illinois. He says, looking forward to the interview. And I think everybody is. It's awesome to be able to have the band and have Nate with us this morning. And we're looking forward to learning even more. So it's a balmy day here in Nashville. It's raining. The wind is out of control. Looks like we're probably going to have tornado warnings again today. And we have four flags here in the yard: the sanctuary flag, the United States flag, the Tennessee flag, and the Christian flag. And they're all blowing like crazy. The flagpoles are like this. So we're definitely having some wind. So it's a windy day, but I'm glad you're here with us today. Sean is here from San Diego. Good to have you here, Sean. And Marcus, he says, good morning, Pastor Bob. Good morning to you, Marcus. And folks, again, let me know where you're watching from. We have some great friends from all over the world that join us. David Kelly White from Littleton, Colorado. 33 degrees there. A little chilly. Yes. And it's in the 50s here, but it's raining and storming. And tell me what it's like in your part of the world today, especially our international folks. Speaking of that, Jonas is here from Sanctuary in Kenya. Looking forward to today's podcast. I'm listening while uploading the first songs for release through Intense Worship Records. It's our new record company. If all goes well, they should be out on all the platforms next week. We're very excited. I'm very excited. And I want to have the guys on the show next week, by the way, Jonas. Let's talk a little bit about that. We have a new label. This one isn't Intense Records. This one's called Intense Worship Records. And we're going to just be signing just worship bands and heavy metal worship. So it'll be very cool. Rodney is here from Queensland, Australia. Good morning to you. So from United States to Kenya to Australia. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. Emma, our good friend from Montana, is here today. The mom from the Megal Carpenter guys, the band, and great to always have her here. And good morning from Alec from Holland, Michigan. Yes, Holland, Michigan. And I would imagine it's probably a whole lot of people from the Netherlands there. Yes. Hello, everyone from Maine. Good to see you. John is here from Massachusetts. Massachusetts, we got some East Coast people and an East Coast band coming up in just a minute as well from Rhode Island. And David Kelly Weiss is going up to the Federal Center in Lakewood. I've been to Lakewood many times, David, and great area there, great area. Love that part of the world. Folks, again, if you're just joining us, sign in. Forrest is here today from Lansing, Michigan. Got a few Michigan people here with us. That's awesome. Thank you for joining the show today. Brian here says, stay safe, Pastor Bob. I know. And I don't know how to stay safe, honestly. I don't have a basement. or a cellar. I live in a log cabin that's pretty solid in the kind of in the middle of a lot of trees. So hopefully that makes a little difference. We'll see. Yeah, we've never had a tornado this part of the city. The house I lived in before this, we went through two of them. So Western Canada here. Brian is here today. Weather is pretty tame, a little chilly. Yeah. Well, it's tame is nice. And as I look out the windows here, we don't have tame. Yeah. So, Russ, good morning to you. Folks, love having you join me. And again, let me know where you're watching from. That would be great. So, we just had, oh, look at Rick Boucher is here. He says, good morning, old friend. It's really cold in Kansas City. So, Rick is from the original sanctuary in California. And I've known him for probably almost 40 years, Rick. So, how awesome to have you here with us today. And he's always been one of my favorite people. So, great to have you here. So, folks, once again, I'd like to do a little Q&A this morning before we bring Nate on. And if you have any questions or comments, shoot them on the screen. Just type them out. Whatever platform you're on, whether it's any one of the Facebook pages or YouTube or wherever you're watching from, Rumble, anywhere, you can type it out and John will put it on the screen, and I'd love to answer any questions you might have, and that would be cool. Folks, I'm so glad once again that you're here. Um, we had a great time this last weekend. We had Barren Cross play for our gathering on Saturday, and it was just real cool to have the guys playing. They've been involved with Sanctuary for 40 years now. Jim, the bass player for Barren Cross, has been my worship leader now. Well, almost since we started. Michael Sweet from Striper was the first worship leader, and then Jim took over, and so he's been doing it for almost 40 years. And but we had Barren Cross play, and of course, great worship, and I brought the message, and we had food, and we just barely squeezed everyone in. It was a pretty big crowd, but really nice. And then Sunday, as every Sunday, we have church at 10:30, and a great time with everyone. Nate Middleton is here. He's going to be on live with us in just a minute. Nate from the band called Saved by Skarlet. He's our special guest today, and I'm excited to spend some time with him, find out about the band, and we'll be excited to do that. So Alcock says, your most favorite Christian extreme metal band? Well, gosh, that's almost, Al, like saying which one of your children is your favorite. You know, they're all different. You love them all in a different way because they're all unique. And I think that's probably true with so many of the bands that are here at Sanctuary, so many of the bands that got started here. I think the one project that I've worked on the most through the years has been Vengeance. That would be fairly extreme. It was very extreme when we first started. And we first started, let's see, 38 years ago, we started putting the band together. Yeah, it's been a long time. I'm excited that for our 40th anniversary at Immortal Fest in July, we have playing with us again. And there is a rumor that Pastor Bob is going to be doing a little music with them too. So we'll see how it goes. So Matthew Brown is here. Matt Brown, good friend of the ministry. Good to see you, Pastor Bob. He says, thank you. But, there's so many bands, Al. I don't know. I wouldn't know where to start. Which one would be my favorite? I have no idea. Because every one of them is just a little bit different. every one of them I have a unique experience with, and it's kind of like having children, kind of like that. Once again, folks, if you have any questions or comments, leave them. I would love to answer whatever you have, and we'd love to do that with you. So, John, our illustrious, industrious producer, is here with us this morning. Good morning, John.
Good morning.
You're kind of losing your voice today, aren't you?
Yeah, those of you guys that aren't in this part of the country, and I know that there's other places that are, but we've gone from everything from 70 degrees down to 30 degrees. And, when you burn the candle at both ends, stuff like this is going to happen. So I'm not used to being on screen, so I thought I would be safe, but here I am.
With Pastor Bob, are you?
Right.
Yeah. So, John, that was an interesting question from Al. Who's your favorite extreme band? Who would you say your favorites are?
I'd say one of the bands that probably made the biggest impact on me, I go back to 1991, and hearing the very first album from Mortification.
Yeah.
That was pretty significant, but I'm with you on the Vengeance side. Being in high school, I was 16 years old, right around the time when I first found out about Sanctuary. I found out about Vengeance and Sacred Warrior pretty much right about the same time. The California metal releases, but yeah, Vengeance was massive. Mulligan Stew, Burn Satan Burn, a lot of those. So yeah, so the Christian metal community was influential to me at a very young age. Sanctuary is 40 years old, and I'm sure a lot of our folks could probably reflect back to that time. And there's so many great bands that are out now, that are carrying the mantle of what an industry that was started years ago. I've known Nate now for quite some time from doing the Warriors Night Out radio broadcast, and did a lot of them. And the Lie of the Pharisees record, you guys have to hear that. It came out in 23, and these guys are pretty much the epitome of what God is doing in the metal community today. Nate and the rest of the crew, absolutely phenomenal. The audio matches the video. And it's an honor to be able to work with ministries like this. I know different genre, but the group Take Six, they had a song, "If We Ever Needed the Lord Before, We Sure Do Need Him Now." And bands like Saved by Skarlet and so many other great bands. We had Becoming Sons on last week. We've got Ritual Servant. Patrick Rivers is going to be on with us next week, and it's real awesome to have a platform to represent these artists, that the gospel is still loud and proud in our community, and we continue to be mission-minded in why we do what we do. That's something I think that we instill with all the artists that we work with. Obviously, Intense Worship Records coming up. That is, I always equate to the vehicle. We have, you can have a beautiful car, but if what's under the engine isn't up to par, then, we're just making noise. And so to come across an artist that is epitomizing ministry and what they're doing, and they are mission-minded. Again, Nate and the crew from Saved by Skarlet, if you've not heard them, go on Spotify, Apple Music, look up their past catalog. Lie of the Pharisees, played it plenty of times on my show. Obviously set that aside to be able to commit fully to doing the media coordinator position with Sanctuary. But yeah, Nate, excited to have you guys on today.
And John, you'll be having on the screen in just a little bit, you'll have the URLs to go to all of those things.
Absolutely. Yeah, we want people to connect with all of our artists. It's easy to come onto a podcast and applaud and do that, and then just kind of go on about your day. Merchandise is a huge thing. bands, independent bands like Saved by Skarlet and Ritual and Becoming Sons, and even some of the big bands, the revenue that they make, in streams versus going online, buying physical product, buying a CD, buying a t-shirt, buying a hat. Shout out to Anthony Gober and Anchor Merchandising, who's working with so many great bands. You are directly supporting the artist in doing that.
On Sunday, he attends Sanctuary here. But how many bands do you have on the roster that you do merch for? And he said about 450.
Yeah.
A lot. That's a lot.
And I was with him for a period of time. I saw the insanity that goes on in his house. When Immortal Festival was coming up, boxes everywhere, shirts hanging over all the furniture. And, again, I will always mention this topic of being mission-minded. And if you're an artist, if you're a band that's watching this, please be intentional about your mission and what God's called you to do. Don't go out and just try to replicate, for sound and for look and just to play it safe. Know what God's called you to do and that mission. And I'm sure Nate will share that, talking with, Saved by Skarlet, but times are crazy now. And if there's ever a time that people needed to hear the truth of the gospel, especially on the platform that we present and, the extreme form of music that we do, the louder, the better. But, and something Pastor Bob, I think I heard you say, the louder the music, the louder your message better be.
Yeah.
So.
I like that. Well, speaking of loud music, I have a tour coming up that I want to talk about real fast. And, it's been my privilege over the years to help quite a few festivals get started. I'm going to speak at 3 of them, actually.
Pioneered in a lot of ways.
Yeah. I'll be at Elements of Rock first. I've got White Cross traveling with me this time, and they'll be at Elements of Rock with me, and then they'll be at Light the Dark Festival as well with me. I've got Tourniquet coming with me also for Light the Dark Festival, and just a lot of surprises, some really great bands in both festivals. Elements of Rock is the festival we do in Switzerland. Then I have a festival in Denmark right after that called the Green Light District Worship Festival. And then, of course, Light the Dark, which used to be called Bob Fest for many years.
Remember that very vividly.
Yeah, we started that one in 1999. So it's the 26th year this year. A new name now, which I'm excited for. Last year, yeah, they renamed her to this year. I think we renamed it. Yes. So this is the first time for that. But yeah, just some good things coming up. If you're anywhere close to those countries, come and see me. Come and see the bands and experience some great festivals and some great time with the Lord. Also, I wanted to mention for those of you in the area around Germany and that part of the country, Loud and Proud Festival in September, and then probably one more in September that I'll announce at another time. Richard Boucher says, for me, oops, you just changed it. I was just reading there. It's Holy.
Sorry.
Yeah, and I remember, Rick, that your favorite band was Holy Soldier. He came out of their Bible study. That's where he began. Kind of cool. And it's been so many years, but really great. And Jeff says Barren Cross. There you go. A lot of Barren Cross fans. So, John, it was kind of cool to have the Barren Cross guys here.
That time warped me back to a place. I'm a big guy, and I'm 54 years old, and listening to Mike and Jim, especially with Crystal and Joey and that whole thing, I felt like I was 16 years old again. And but I'll tell you what, my hair is longer than it's been, so I'm glad I got to put it to good use on Saturday. And but yeah, that was a magical moment. on Saturday, and getting a chance to rub elbows with Mike. And again, Jim, we see on a pretty regular basis. But man, pioneers of our industry that really paved the way of where we are. If you're new to Sanctuary and you're new to the Christian metal community, encourage you to go on and look at videos like Imaginary Music and Crying Over You. And, there's very few Christian metal bands that really made an impact back in the day on MTV. I think of them. I think of Tourniquet. I think of Holy Soldier. Striper, of course, but Barren Cross, they were on Enigma Records right there with Striper. And, so to be blessed in the, with a band that has the legacy that it has, and to see them getting traction, to be able to come back and take us back to that time was really amazing.
Absolutely. Well, it was a good time. We've got some surprises coming up. We've got some more bands that will be here to play for our gathering. And we'll talk about that more as we get closer to that time.
And Pastor Bob, one thing before, because I know we'll be going to commercial and coming back with Nate. But guys, I implore you, I beg of you, like, share, follow everything the Sanctuary is doing. We're on Facebook, we're on YouTube, we're on Twitch, we're on Rumble. I challenge all of you guys, man, share with at least 5 people. I know I got 10 up, but share with 5 people what is going on with Sanctuary, how has Sanctuary impacted your life. Again, 40 years, there's I think I'm referencing bands that are not metal today. I don't know what the issue is, but mentioned Take 6 before. Ray Boltz had that song, Thank You. 40 years is a long time for a ministry to be going the way that it has. And man, there's a lot of thank yous that come in, but, to be able to see the next 40 years of Sanctuary coming up, it's a hinge point. And, there's still a lot of work that needs to be done. And to coin a phrase from Bugs Bunny, we need your help. So again, jump on socials, spread the word, anything you guys can do. Hashtag we are metal, we are family.
And I'm ready for the next 40 years. I'll be 112 years old, but
you age gracefully.
Let's go. Well, folks, don't go anywhere. We're going to be right back with Nate Middleton from Saved by Skarlet. Coming up next. Hello, family. I'm excited to be with you this year at Light the Dark Festival. We're going to have a great time in Norrköping, Sweden, March 28th and 29th. Great bands, great fellowship. I can't wait to be there with you. Don't miss it, folks. Get your tickets now. They're on sale. And I look forward to seeing you in March. And from the great state of Rhode Island, Nate Middleton is here with us from Saved by Skarlet. Good morning, Nate. Good to have you today.
Hey, how are you guys doing? I would say you, but obviously you come with a lot more than just you, as you've got some awesome people in the chat.
there's some great people that make this show happen. I just show up and look pretty, Nate. That's all they ask me to do. So, dude, it's so good to have you on the show, and I'm excited to talk about the band and all things related to Saved by Skarlet. Um, Nate, I have to ask you first of all, how old is the band now? You guys have been around for a while. I've seen your name and your music around for quite a few years.
Yeah, so the band itself is about 10 years old, but we didn't start out like professionally. We started out really just as a cover band. So, for a while we were just doing, covers of different songs, bands and whatnot. Some of them Christian, some not. And then we kind of grew beyond that point. And we had started out at around 17 years old. And now most of us are 29, 28, 26. Sorry, excuse my throat. But yeah, so a lot of us, we started when we were pretty young, and have been going for about 10 years. And my brother and I are the only two standing original members still in the band. So I'm not sure if you meant how old was the band or us individually, but I figured I'd answer together, kind of.
Both. I think that's, it's exciting to put something together and watch it evolve.
Oh, it is.
And it's interesting to me how many bands start out as kind of a cover band, start out with doing other people's music and go from there. Tell me some of the favorites that you guys were playing when you started.
Well, you know what? It's a great way to start and kind of break into music. So, you hear a song, you kind of catch on to the song, you can kind of follow it, it kind of guides you. And then you can start to create your own music, which is what happened to us. But some of the covers that we did were Evanescence covers.
Yeah.
Flyleaf was a big one. And as for those that don't know, Flyleaf, well, hopefully you guys do know, Flyleaf was a huge female-fronted Christian hard rock band.
Right.
And they really blew up a lot, like the early 2000s and everything. That was wild. And Skillet was another one. So it was mostly Skillet, Evanescence, and Flyleaf, essentially.
Awesome. Three great bands. And I worked with Evanescence at the very beginning. I worked with Wind Up Records. That was
Really?
I did a more of a pastoral role there, but there was 12 Stones, and of course, oh gosh, I'm trying to remember all the bands.
Yeah, 12 Stones is awesome.
Yeah, great band. But anyway, some great bands from that particular label. But yes, so how has the music then evolved through the? Because I don't think I would listen to your music at this point and say, Evanescence is their beginning.
Well, one of the ways that evolved was so originally we had two different female vocalists who were in the band. I wasn't actually the vocalist starting out. My passion was drums and guitar. And so my brother and I were doing mostly just drums and guitar. And then we kind of transferred from female fronted to more male fronted vocals. That was kind of just the style and the sound that we were looking for altogether, and kind of just where life took us, It was also hard at that time because we didn't own our own vehicles yet. So like the female that we had couldn't really make it to practice. So it kind of just fell apart. Also, I apologize. I had a late night last night. I woke up in the middle of the night with like back pain and stuff. But there's actually kind of a story with that I want to share later, if that's okay. But yeah, so that was kind of the first change that started to evolve our music into more aggressive male vocals. And also we started getting moving more out of the like alternative rock and hard rock into more like metalcore influence, and even some gent influence. So some people may not even know what gent is. I don't know if it's technically a genre. I know that there's some debate there, but we really try and incorporate modern rock, hard rock, metalcore, and gent all in one. So And even some of our songs actually start to have a little touch of experimental too, which you'll see some on the new song coming out this spring.
Well, that's awesome. It's difficult to put a label on things. When you say rock and roll, you almost anything from Elvis Presley to the Doors to,
It's true.
almost anything. And these days, when you say heavy metal, officially there are 18 genres of heavy metal.
Yep.
And there are more than that are unofficial. So I think we just kind of make it up as we go. That's cool.
Throw it up in the air and see what comes down.
Right. Exactly.
That's metalcore. That's John. That's Jen. Yeah, no, it's, if anything, it's almost like more like genres have now become kind of more of like what the style. Yes. Like what's the style of music? You know what I mean? You've even got like the bands that like all dress up and they have gimmicks. You know what I mean? So it's kind of, I don't know. It's kind of changed a little bit from back when, probably from when you first started, I can imagine.
Yeah, it has. It has been just really exciting to watch the evolution of the music because it's born with creativity. Everybody wanting to push a little bit more of the boundaries and a little bit more of what metal had been, and then starting something new. And every single time, the old metalheads say, "Oh no, that's not really metal." It's sometimes the evolution is difficult and sometimes it's smoother. I remember the days, Nate, when when we were doing pretty much just melodic metal, the very beginnings.
Yep.
And in those days, metalheads and punk rockers were not friends. They were diametrically opposed. I remember when we started working with the Crucified, we had to even find a different company to sign them because it just, you couldn't do it in the metal genre. And then this whole new music started taking shape. And, when we put Vengeance together, for instance, it was the edge at, let's go beyond it. Let's create something that is way, before its time. And I think we did that. But all the criticism from the melodic music people was huge. We can't have that kind of music. And then there started to be this blending of punk rock and heavy metal, and all of a sudden these two factions became friends, and new music was born. And I guess the rest is history. It's interesting, though, Nate, to see where it's going from here. And I have said most of my life, I've been working in Christian rock for over 50 years now. Most of my life, I keep saying I can't quite imagine what music could go from here. I told the Lord that I would be dedicated to being on the edge, wherever the edge was, and the edge always surprises me. Nate, where do you see music?
I'm going to be honest, that last part, you kind of started to cut out, sounding a little underwater. You might want to try tapping your mic or something.
Yeah. Can you hear me okay now?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, something changed. You're good now.
I don't know what the deal is there. but I was just, their musical styles have changed so much and evolved. Where do you see music going in the future? Any ideas?
That's a tough one because, I mean, even 10 years ago, I thought I knew what direction music was going, and now it's not.
Yeah, right.
I will say this, honestly, with the resurgence of a lot of like deathcore and metalcore on the rise, and even some classic rock, like you had Stranger Things, the show that was incredibly huge, feature Metallica music.
Yes.
That was really big for the metal community. And then you had quite a few of the actors, I believe, of Wednesday, that Netflix show that was really big. We're talking about metal and how they like metal and stuff. And so people checked it out there. And then you have like Sleep Token, which blew up like overnight. From TikTok and different things. There are a lot of like metal vocalists like Lorna Shore, with Will Ramos. his vocal ability is like astronomically insane. And so like that has also gotten a lot of publicity and stuff. And then, Spirit Box being in Poppy, both actually on the, with the Grammys and everything that happened with the Olympics with Guara, I think that's how you say it. I might have said it wrong. And them winning, the Grammy and stuff. It seems like a lot more recently, like a lot of the harder edge music seems to be like more widely accepted, or maybe that's, I don't know, maybe that's just me. But so I would say based on that, if everything continues the way it's going, I would say like hard rock and metalcore may actually like really, really blow up again, kind of like the early 2000s with Christian rock.
Yeah.
That's my own hope. I don't know if that's actually going to happen, but I hope it does. But as far as like, rap and pop still dominating, that'll probably happen for a long time just because of the radio and how that whole system works. You know how it is.
Yes.
So obviously there's advantage there. But aside from public radio, I would say, honestly, it seems like hard rock and metalcore are really making a comeback.
Yeah. And I love seeing that.
Same.
And we've seen the same thing happen in metal. Some of the, especially Christian metal, a lot of the older Christian metal bands are becoming popular again.
Yes.
And I think that's true with classic rock in general. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to get down to your music, Nate, and you guys have released several albums. The last one was a couple years ago, I think, 2022. When you're
almost. Out of Darkness was a 10-track album that we released in 2019, and then kind of more so 2020 because it was technically in December, so one more month and it would have been 2020. Yeah. And then we just released in 2024 last year, almost exactly a year ago, we released Creation and Crisis. That was our heaviest album yet.
Great. Yes, good stuff. And I want to talk to you about one song in particular, and I think this song really hit for you, called Black Knight.
Oh, yes. That was our top 5 charting song and top 100, actually.
That's huge.
Yeah, we were excited, man. That was a really, really fun song to perform live and when we were creating it. I love that song, honestly.
So where did the song come from, and what made it catch on? Any ideas?
So where the song came from, I'll take that first. That song, most of our songs, we have like a very clear vision of, from the beginning of when we're writing it and everything. That song kind of didn't evolve that way. It actually changed some when we were in the studio and different things. But the way it came about ultimately was, I had kind of had this like sort of vision in my head of like a song that kind of encapsulated dragons, which would represent sort of like the more eerie, darkish, like negative stuff in the world. Satan, is often in the Bible referred to as like a dragon. In Revelation, especially in the constellation. So I thought that was really cool. And I was like, you know what, how could we like create a song, with the guys, of course, Matt, my brother, he helped write too. And we were just saying, how can we encapsulate a message within a song of like almost going into battle on a physical battlefield, but also how that translates to an individual person per day when they wake up and the battle that they go through. And this song deliberately has a lot of metaphorical stuff. So when you hear the beast that brought this pain, you hear like in the background, harsh vocals that kind of, we put an effect on it. So it sounds almost like kind of a beast. And then in the beginning, you've got like the bells and the chime type effects, which kind of signal this almost medieval sounding sort of text, it's got that texture to it, which honestly, I think that was a really, really good idea. I personally had that idea and I loved it. I said it in the studio and some of the guys were like, I don't know. And I was like, no, we really should do this. Like, this is a really good idea. And then we found, a bell, and then we tuned it to be in the key. And I know a lot of people that love the song even just for that. So that worked really well too. So the message in the song, and then I'll get to the question about like why I think it excelled the most out of all of our music.
Sure.
The message in the song ultimately with that information was kind of a combination of things. We wanted it to be something that people could relate to, that would be heavy, but also really catchy. That would be melodic, and that would have a very clear message, but also a little bit of ambiguity so that it could be left for open to interpretation. For us personally, in the bridge, it says, "We held the line, the sword of truth unbroken. I will survive to watch the embers burn." That was a really fun part, putting that in the song, because for me, it was like, that was like the hardest, heaviest part of the song. And it was like the part that really talks about, like for me, in my daily fight, having that sword of truth, which we know is the Bible, God's spoken word, having that and rising up against the things that are trying to squander you and bring you down and suppress you is so important, because we don't always feel like victors, but sometimes we have to almost like fake it till you make it. Like, even though you don't feel like a victor, still get up, still fight, live another day, continue to seek wisdom, from God, and
Yes.
seek his direction is so important, man. And I could go on and on, honestly. There's a lot of layers to Black Knight and like what came about with that song. So I'm going to try not to talk too long.
Well, that's fine.
But I think the song was really successful in answer to your second question, because
an awesome song. Awesome song.
Because of how melodic it was and how relatable, it was. And
yes. And I like the feel of it. I like that medieval feel that you have, and it's very popular these days. So
yeah,
that's awesome. So Jonas from Sanctuary in Kenya, Africa, says, my favorite song on the album is Creation and Crisis. I love the chorus.
oh, that's awesome, man. Thank you so much for sharing, Jonah.
So talk about that song for a minute.
Oh, Creation and Crisis is a fun one. Wow. So that song is, for those that don't know, it has a lot of gent influence. It kind of starts out with a riff that sounds almost like a beat down riff. One that you just start throwing haymakers and roundhouse kicking. But the song, Jonah, I love that you really enjoy that chorus, because for those that don't know, the chorus goes, no matter the night. Wow, I actually have to think for a second. I'm sorry. No matter the night, no matter the cost, you gave your life with the world in your thoughts. I'll just say this to sum up that song. The song really is about how God created a lot of things in this world, and creation is beautiful. I view creation as something that is beautiful. It's mighty. It's precious. But then there's also crisis, right? In the other side of the token. And, that chorus is talking about how God had us in mind when he was fighting for us by sending his son to die on the cross. That ultimate gift was the ultimate weapon, and so that chorus encapsulates that really, no matter where you are, no matter what time of night, and no matter what the cost is, he will fight for you, and he is fighting for you, even when you don't see it happening. And, there are some things, even last night, like I woke up with back pain, maybe it was spiritual, maybe not, which is part of the reason I'm also tired and my voice is tired. I'll just be real with you guys. Like, we have to remind ourselves, like, that we are in a battle,
Yeah.
And that's part of the reason the band name is Saved by Skarlet, because people need to know that they are saved. But even when you don't feel like it, you got to keep pressing through.
So this brings up my next question also, Nate, and that is the foundation that you write your songs from. And dude, I think it's important to know that that the music is only as good as our spiritual lives are. Many times we write from our experiences And how important has that been for you to write from your experiences and how what kinds of I think a lot of people say that they write best when they're depressed
Mm.
or something's going on. They're in the depths of things. Would that be true for you? And what do you write from? From what foundation?
Oh man, I definitely agree with that. Although I wouldn't just say depressed, I would say any strong emotion. So whether you're like really, really happy, like there was a time where I felt really, really strong and I was literally pushing carts actually at my job, and Fire Inside, one of our songs, Fire Inside, the lyrics, just came to me. And right then and there wrote the song. Um, but I was going through a really, really awesome time in my life, powerful time in my life. So, in the middle of depression, absolutely. I mean, I've been there. For those that know Saved by Skarlet, one of our staple songs is Surrender All. I wrote that song after God saved my life. I almost died 3 times at the hand of a terrible relationship.
Wow.
And then the last time was almost at my hand. And, God saved my life through a miracle. And that's why we're here today. That's kind of where the music started. And, so we really, really do try to tie in, what's happening in our personal life and also what's happening in the spiritual side of our personal life. What do we feel like God is putting on our heart? What's kind of going on at that moment? Dallin, our drummer, he's had excellent input, with the band. He's the one of the most recent band members to join as our permanent drummer. And I mean, he's added in some, for example, some relatable stuff like, oh man, like I came from this place, and he's got a whole crazy story. I can't even get into that. It's amazing though, where he's come from, and just drawing from that, he's been able to add input. My brother Matt, through his medical journey with battling sickness and disease, that's kind of the syndrome, came from that, and I wrote that as well. But so yeah, I mean, honestly, our spiritual lives and kind of what's going on in our physical lives, it all blends together, and then that music really comes out kind of as an expression of what's going on in our lives. But there are also songs, I know some bands do only that, but we also do a lot of music that's just, even if we're not going through it in the moment or feel it spiritually, we're still putting it out there and we're still having ideas.
That's awesome. And yeah, everything evolves, doesn't it? And the deeper your walk is with the Lord, the deeper the music becomes.
Yeah, and sometimes the more real it gets, man. Sometimes it's sometimes tough.
So, Nate, my father used to tell me that if I want people to bleed, I need to hemorrhage. And that's one of the best pieces of advice he ever gave me as a pastor, is that you need to feel things sometimes more deeply than other people do to be able to speak from that platform. And I almost think that that's not just true with pastors, but it's true with bands. You go through those dark nights, as we say, like you went through. You go through those darker times where you feel things, you feel them extremely, but it gives you a platform to write from.
Yep, that's right. That's absolutely right.
That's awesome. So you're still writing music. What's in the future for Saved by Skarlet? Any ideas?
Oh yeah, man. I mean, we're excited. Oh, hi, Sheldon. Sheldon is fantastic. He's a great, great guy. Um, but so right now we are looking towards the future with our new setup, which is essentially Dallin Trader on drums, Brendan Ryan on guitar, Matt Middleton, my brother, who's also on lead guitar, and myself as vocals. We together, now we feel very unified, very strong. We had some recent changes, and so we're looking towards the future now, like, okay, what kind of new music can we write now as a band? Because the last drummer and the last guitarist helped write us work with Creation and Crisis, except for one song. Dallin was on that one. So now we're looking towards creating new music. And for those who tuned in today, thank you so much. I'll actually drop a sneak peek, but we have a new song that's going to be coming out called Memory Relapse. And I'm really excited about this song. So you guys are the first people hearing it, other than my wife.
Awesome.
So we're looking towards, releasing a couple of singles, and then following the same pattern that was successful with our last EP, we want to release another album. If you guys can all actually pray for me and my voice, I've actually been battling a lot of post-nasal drip and allergies, and it's been slowing things down. So if you guys could keep me in prayer, that would be really tight.
Absolutely.
But
It's that time of
we're
the year.
definitely looking. What'd you
Yeah.
say?
It's that time of the year, isn't it, for allergies?
Yeah, man, it stinks. I'm doing everything I can, man. Yeah, it's been a little bit of a battle, if I were to be completely honest. But we're really excited though, and definitely gent metalcore hard rock. That's kind of where we're finding our home to be. Still throwing in some really powerful ballads, and some worship stuff. But that's probably predominantly where our music's going to be.
That's awesome. Well, you've got a strong following. You've got some great fans around the world, and hopefully after today, you've got even more of them. We're excited for what's next for the band, and I'd love to have you on again, Nate. It would be great to do an update. Bring some of the other guys on with you too.
Yes, yeah, they wanted to be here. They say hello, by the way, everybody.
Great, thank you. That's awesome. So, well, Nate, great to get to know you a little better, and I'm excited for what lays ahead.
Thank you.
Folks, if you haven't checked the band out yet, Saved by Skarlet is
With a K.
Yeah, right. And check out of course, their YouTube, all the stuff where you can find out what the band sounds like and
Spotify.
We
love Spotify.
Yes, and Spotify. Yeah, and you need to check out Spotify. The more hits you get on Spotify, the better it is for the band. So support them on Spotify as well. Absolutely. Well, folks, thank you for joining us. And Nate, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you. Thank you for having me and the band.
Yes. And I'm excited to see what happens in the future with you guys. You've got a great start, and when I say start, you've been around for a while, but you got a long ways to go.
Yeah, only more recently started really hunkering down and stuff, so it does feel new,
Now that's a Southern word. That we would say that in Tennessee, hunkering down. I like that. Good. Well, thank you so much, my friend. Blessings to you.
Thank you.
Well, folks, thank you for joining us today. Next week, we've got Patrick from Ritual Servant will be here with us, and excited to spend a little bit of time with him as well. Excited about Saved by Skarlet, their ministry. Been great to have Nate here with us today. Great to have you here with us as well. And folks, don't forget, you are blessed. So go and be a blessing.